Okay, welcome everybody. This is the reorganization meeting for the SU board. I'd like to congratulate David and Liz as new members of the SU board. So as is tradition, the superintendent starts the meeting. We'll take nominations for board chair. As soon as a board chair is identified, board chair will take over the facilitation of the meeting. So at this time, I'll take nominations for board chair of the SU board.
I nominate Michelle Green.
Go ahead, Liz.
Liz, I nominate Michelle Green.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Okay. So, do we vote, or is it just, let's vote on Michelle Green as the nomination for the new board SU chair.
All over?
Voice call.
Aye.
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 We had 4 ayes and, okay. So Michelle Green, I will turn the meeting over to you as board chair.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any nominations for the board vice chair? I will nominate Kelly Young.
She's not running through the door.
Second, if you need it.
Do we need a second? Okay, so just Kelly Young for nomination. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Kelly Young is the vice chair. And can I have a nomination for the board clerk?
I'll nominate David.
Nomination for David Scholes. No other nominations? All in favor? Aye.
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 If you need a second, I'll be the second.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, David, thank you. You are our clerk.
I'm typing.
Okay.
And would people please sign up on the sign-up sheet? Looks like we're going to have to go to the back side too, please.
So next is establishing meeting days and time. Historically, the board has been meeting on the second Wednesday of the month on a monthly basis. Tentatively, sometimes it's less, and then of course other times it's more. Does that work for all members to continue? No problem seen?
Say that again, please.
The second Wednesday of the month as a standard. Okay. Do we have to vote on that? Is that, are we just in agreement?
I think we're in agreement.
All right, we're gonna keep doing what we've been doing. Okay. Okay, we are going to, next on the agenda, open this up to public comment. Comment is reserved for anything that's not on the agenda, which isn't much because we haven't reconvened, so we haven't begun taking up business. So do we have a list, I heard, David?
One person had asked to speak.
Oh, just one, okay. Well, we can open up for public comment. If anyone has, we can call you up forward. If it's many people, then we'll reserve to 2 to 3 minutes, just to be respectful. Am I not talking loud enough? Is it you? Okay, sorry. So do we have any public comments? Does anyone like to speak?
My name is Eva Gould. As you said last time to the SD board, we, the students of VIII, believe that Mark Spino should continue leading our district in the position of superintendent. Mr. Spino is a student-focused leader who represents teachers and administrations with great integrity. Mr. Spino has created a stable, compassionate, and just school environment. In such a distressing time, it is Mr. Spino's compassionate leadership which has prioritized the well-being of our students. We asked that he be provided with the permanent employment contract that he needs to lead confidently in the years to come and continue to excel at creating a strong and united district community.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Allie Ford. So we have taken further steps to gather more widespread support through a petition. We reached out to the student body and community and have collected more than 770 signatures. and 500 in the first 24 hours. In the petition we wrote, quote, "Our school board is not doing its job. After months of searching, they still have not found a superintendent to lead us next year. Our schools cannot afford to have instability in our leadership. This is unacceptable. We ask you, the student body and community, support us in advocating for Mark Spino to be given a 3-year contract as superintendent. Spino has been a great leader for our district, and he is focused on the well-being of our students. We need him to make our school district function," end quote. We would like to present you a list of people who have signed the petition, along with comments that the community has written on the petition. We ask that you take us some time to look over the comments and take into consideration the widespread support we have gathered. Mr. Spino is the leader we need, and there's no question about his qualifications and intentions to make our district a better place for everyone.
So along with these 774 and counting signatures we gathered, there are also 30+ comments on the petition, and I would like to read one of them. This is from a parent, I presume. "My daughter was a Green Street student when Mark joined as principal. He was a caring and effective administrator and leader. He's a great choice to lead the whole district and has a particular understanding of some of the most challenging issues the kids in our district face. I would like to present the board with a recent article in the Reformer and the list of 774 signatures that we gathered."
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Beth Bristol. I'm from Guilford. The board has received a copy of the letter that I am going to read tonight. This is on behalf of the Guilford Leadership Council. "It is with disappointment that we write to you today in response to hearing the news of the prior board's impasse on selecting a full-time superintendent. The Guilford Leadership Council is united in the submittal of this letter and wishes to formally communicate our position to the WSESU board. The last 3 years have brought significant challenges exacerbated by the instability of leadership within our SU. Within the last 4 years, we have navigated through 3 superintendent search processes, each of which has brought strong feelings, disruptions, and distractions from normal operations. This, layered with the global challenges of the pandemic, has weighed heavily on staff, students, and the entire school community. Our district is in dire need of stability in the form of strong, respected, dedicated, and proven leadership. Acting Superintendent Spino has offered each of these attributes over his time leading the district this past year. Not only did he step up and into the role quickly and efficiently when asked, but has navigated unprecedented times while earning the respect and trust of the community. Mr. Spino's qualifications are undeniable. In addition to the standard academic and experiential qualifications, he offers the unique and beneficial background of having quite literally worked his way from the ground up within this community. He is able to appreciate the need for evolution within our community while providing the consistency and stability we desperately need. As a former student, teacher, principal, and now superintendent, Mr. Spino knows firsthand the challenges and opportunities facing our community. The impasse on the vote to confirm the hiring committee's recommendation to hire Mr. Spino raises many questions. What qualification or job requirement is Mr. Spino missing? What skill set or experience would make him a stronger candidate? Failure to confirm a hiring committee's recommendation after an exhaustive and comprehensive search with the help of contracted professionals is confusing, peculiar, and detrimental to our students' ability, to our district's ability to provide quality education to our students. We hope we can put our trust in the newly formed WSESU board to put closure to this process and offer the district a clear path forward. This is signed by Beth Bristol, Kristen Delorier, Maggie Foley, John Gagnon, Kitsy LaRock, Sarah Brasso, Hannah Salisbury, Tasha Tillman, and Erin Kachuk. Thank you.
on Zoom if we could.
Okay.
Karen, go ahead.
Thank you. My name's Karen Duggan and I teach at the Guilford School. I'd like to share a letter that was sent to each board member. This letter was signed by the entire professional community of our school as well as several support staff. To the members of the WSESU board, we were surprised to learn that Mark Spino was not hired by your board as a permanent superintendent. We have known Mark as a fellow teacher and a principal. We have interacted with him in his role as superintendent. Mark possesses strong leadership skills, an even temperament, and a sense of compassion which make him an excellent fit for this position. He is calm, supportive, and knowledgeable, and has been a great advocate for teachers, students, and families throughout his year as superintendent. He guided us through COVID times in a sensible manner, being respectful of the AOE and medical recommendations and mandates. He has collaborated with schools to ensure the very best for our students. 3 superintendents in 3 years was difficult. As we move forward, we worry that a lack of strong leadership might mean the loss of staff and alienated families. As we continue to recover from these difficult few years, we need clear, direct, effective leadership from someone who understands our schools and our community. Mark has clearly demonstrated this ability and will continue to lead us forward in a steady and thoughtful way. We ask you to please hire Mark Spino as our permanent superintendent, signed by the staff of Guilford Central School. Thank you all for listening, and thank you for your service to our community.
Hi, I'm Marissa. I'm the school counselor at Putney Central School. I'm here with some of my colleagues, and I am here to read a letter that was written and signed by approximately 90% of our staff at Putney Central School in support of Mark to become the superintendent. We want to voice our support for endorsing Mark Spino for the full superintendent position and not another interim position. He has shown PCS great support in a time when we really needed him to. We are well aware that this is his first time in the superintendent seat, and there must have been a lot of other pressing items calling for his attention. Still, Mark made us a priority and gave us the attention we needed in a timely fashion, and with such compassion and understanding. He truly cares about the students, the staff, and the schools, and we at Putney have certainly witnessed that from him. I support you, Mark.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kate Margaitis, current principal at Green Street School, and I'm reading this letter, which I believe you received via email, on behalf of 45 staff members at Green Street School. To the members of the WSESU board, it was both a surprise and a disappointment to learn that Mark Spino was not hired by the WSESU school board to continue on as our permanent superintendent. Overlooking a candidate with Mark's experience and strengths is a mistake. We had respectfully and hopefully waited for a successful outcome from the board's wide-ranging search for their ideal candidate. There was surprisingly no such outcome, and we are deeply concerned that you are asking us to sit in uneasy limbo concerning the leadership of our school district. We believe we have an excellent candidate available. Many of us here at Green Street School have known Mark professionally when he was a principal here just a year ago, and for the 7 years prior when he had led a complete transformation of the systems and efficacy of our school. Others of us have interacted with him in his role as superintendent. Regardless, the undersigned feel that Mark possesses a rare combination of leadership skills and temperament, and it would be a disservice to our supervisory union to forego the opportunity for Mark to continue as full-time superintendent. We know him to be an advocate for student development in all things academic, social, artistic, athletic, and individualistic. His vision for student success and well-being as a guiding principle helps to define all our roles. Interested in, accepting of, and wanting to know more about anyone with a diverse presentation and background. Someone who cares deeply about the students, families, staff, and schools in our supervisory union. A fair-minded person who is considerate of input from all and collaboration with others. Directly prior to Mark taking on the role of interim superintendent, we were under the leadership of a person without knowledge of our community or of our schools. This individual proved to be someone lacking the skills or endurance to carry us through or onward. If the school board decides not to appoint Mark as superintendent, we are opening the door for lack of solid leadership once again. In this time, the most tumultuous many of us have ever faced in our tenure in education, it is imperative that we have clear, direct, effective leadership that is informed by and sensitive to the needs of our unique local community. Mark Spino is the candidate who has demonstrated that ability and who will continue to lead us forward with steady, thoughtful, and innovative leadership. We need a real superintendent who can care for the needs of our students, families, and staff now, not an imagined candidate that the board will spend a third year searching for. We are deeply worried that in the absence of clear leadership and direction for our district, we will continue to lose staff members and alienate families. We are in a time of crisis in education. We need leadership and believe Mark Spino embodies this leadership for WSESD and WSESU. Many of our staff will attend the March 16th board meeting, holding hope that we may offer our strong opinion to the search committee to hire Mark into the position of superintendent. Thank you.
I'm Deb Cardane. I'm the curriculum coordinator, one of the curriculum coordinators for our district. Thank you for allowing the community an opportunity to speak with you about this. I want to urge you to come to an acceptable agreement with our superintendent in order to enable our district to refocus our attention on the important work that's currently ahead of us. Your job as a school board is to hire a qualified superintendent for our schools. You have that candidate in Mark Spino. Mark has provided consistent, calm, centered leadership across this year. He's proven to all of us, teachers, families, staff members, and students, that he is more than qualified to do this job. As we move forward, we do not have time to wait for another hiring process to occur. We also do not have time or the bandwidth to move through another year with someone in an interim position. We need a long-term leader. In order to be prepared for next year, we need to be making decisions right now. We need to be working to develop our district-wide priorities and systems in order to have equitable programming across our schools. This includes systems for supporting students' wide variety of behavior needs, systems for improved communication with our staff and families, systems for meeting the academic needs of all of our students, including establishing equitable schedules, equitable staffing, curriculum, and assessment practices across the buildings. We need a system for equitable district-wide after-school enrichment opportunities, and that is the short list. There are so many other details to tend to, for which if we need a dedicated leader in place over a sustained period of time. Without a leader in place, this work will be on hold, causing undue stress and extreme uncertainty for our staff and our students. Right now, our school community needs to be able to focus on the needs of our students. We need to prepare for the complex and challenging road ahead, and we cannot afford to be distracted. I would also like to acknowledge the lack of transparency and communication about this process with our community. Information could have been widely available. From the start, gathering input from key stakeholders should have certainly been prioritized, perhaps avoiding the need for this situation. Regardless of how we've gotten here, the only path forward is for the board to come to a reasonable agreement with our superintendent as soon as possible. We have no time to waste, and we need to carve a path forward where our administration, our staff, and our board can work together as one team. We need to refocus our attention on the real reason we're here, which is to educate our students, and we need a leader to do that. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Dias. I'm a Brattleboro resident. I'm a parent of a second grader at Academy School, and I'm the principal at Academy School. And I'm reading a letter on behalf of the Academy School Leadership Council tonight. To the members of the WSESU Board, this letter has been written collaboratively by the Academy School Leadership Council, a group composed of parents and caregivers, teachers, administrators, and other members of the Academy community. One of our responsibilities is to advise the school board about our school's needs and what is important to our community. Our members were very disappointed to learn about the inability of the WSESU board to make the final decision to hire a superintendent after the meeting on March 1st, 2022. We wish to share some serious concerns and make a statement in support of resolving the current lack of a permanent superintendent. There has been a lack of transparency and meaningful communication to the community regarding the progress of hiring a superintendent. The council members understand the use of executive sessions to discuss legally sensitive issues or those concerning specific candidates. However, when discussing the position, the timing, role requirements, or the number of candidates, the use of the executive session is unnecessary, and overuse only sows doubt while undermining the transparency required of your position. Between January 3rd, 2022 to March 1st, the SU School Board meeting minutes documented a total of 9 hours in executive session. The SU Search Committee documents an additional 14.5 hours in executive session, citing 1 VSA 313A3 discussing the appointment and employment of the superintendent candidates. The meeting minutes neither document a clear indication as to the nature of the business to be discussed in the executive sessions, nor any explanation to the public regarding the board's failure to reach any decision. The overwhelming majority of these executive sessions resulted in no action taken. The inherent lack of communication reported by the board in the public meeting minutes, press, and media has led to a marked level of concern, distrust, and confusion related to the hiring process. Neighboring districts used processes such as listing the timeline for applications, interviews, finalists, and a decision publicly on their websites. Making a change such as this would be helpful for our community to understand the intentions of the board. There is an immediate need for leadership and consistency. The public statement by a board member declining to speculate on whether the board would totally reset the process or work from where the current board left off in the reformer on March 9th. The Academy Leadership Council adamantly recommends that the board resume the superintendent hiring process based on the existing candidate pool. Restarting the search would be irresponsible and detrimental in multiple ways. There are several vacant superintendent positions currently advertised in Vermont still, but the window to attract a viable candidate who would have the skills necessary to begin on July 1st has passed. The superintendent of WSESU requires a highly diversified skill set. This is a complex and demanding role, and our Leadership Council advocates for selecting a candidate with a proven track record of improving our local schools and a demonstrated commitment to our community. Our district has been led by 4 different superintendents over the last 5 years. In our opinion, the continued lack of consistent leadership will lead to an additional loss of cohesion, knowledgeable oversight, and thoughtful decision-making across our SDSU schools. A leadership vacuum such as this results in serious inequity for our most vulnerable students and families. If the school board's focus is to represent and serve the needs of all our students and families, then hiring a committed, knowledgeable superintendent should be a priority. Based on the utter lack of communication thus far, we are forced to assume that your priorities may lie elsewhere. Currently, there are 2 leadership positions, vice principal at BUHS and principal at Green Street School, that are also being delayed in permanence due to the superintendent's vacancy. The ripple effect of a lack of decision-making by the board on selecting reliable, effective leadership exacerbates the many challenges with which our educational community continues to cope to an unprecedented degree. As of July 1st, there will be major changes in the provision of special education related to Act 173 that will impact all facets of our local educational system. It's imperative that we have a superintendent who understands how each of our schools are performing so they can help guide our schools toward consistent, equitable improvement and effectiveness for all students. At this time, to begin a new search for superintendent would be highly irresponsible. Any further slippage in the timeline results in losing highly qualified candidates as they accept positions elsewhere in a highly competitive market. Education operates on a unique timeline that will not patiently wait for belabored indecision to resolve. With due respect to confidentiality and decorum, it's widely known that Mark Spino is a candidate being considered as superintendent. Based on the understanding of the Academy Leadership Council, the input received from families and educational colleagues about Mark Spino's current leadership amounts to glowing praise. The positive change and improvement that he has implemented in building effective systems during his years at Green Street School is irrefutable. Based on a review of the community data gathered from the Superintendent Visioning Survey Report, the major factors of importance were experience leading during a period of change, experience managing resources, logistics, and complex budgets, experience of holding both a teaching and a leadership role in education. We assert that Mark Spino has these qualities in abundance and that he understands the challenges and strengths inherent in our community. The council believes he is an excellent fit to navigate our WSESU schools through a time of adversity and prolonged global educational disruption. We urge you to make a resolute decision and acknowledge their responsibility to honor their intended deadline of approving a superintendent by early March. Sincerely, members of the Academy School Leadership Council.
Good evening, Mary Kaufman, principal of Oak Grove School, also a Guilford resident. I'm reading this on behalf of the administrators and principals in the district. As the administrators and principals in this district, we recommend Mark Spino for the position of superintendent of schools. Mr. Spino has provided us with consistency, clear expectations, support, and strong leadership, which has allowed our schools to operate successfully despite the challenges we have faced. Mark is a proven leader. As a principal, he turned around 2 struggling schools within this supervisory union, and in the past 8 months has led 10 schools and early childhood programs across 5 towns. He stepped into this position at a time when we were struggling as a district to move forward and to be highly effective. We cannot afford another year of transition with a superintendent that is not invested in our school district. Our students, our staff, and our community have been through enough. An interim superintendent selected now would be our 4th superintendent in 4 years. We need a consistent leader with the ability to identify concrete goals for our district and one who is able to empower all school staff to achieve those goals. According to the WSESU superintendent job description, you are looking for someone who, quote, can bring innovative ideas for curriculum, culture, and community to life by engaging and inspiring others, end quote. Mr. Spino has demonstrated an ability to do each of these things within the 2 schools he has led in our district. By engaging with staff and allowing leaders to develop in each building, Mark was able to bring thoughtful and creative ideas to life. As a school leader, Mr. Spino inspired others to bring their thoughts and ideas forward, to take risks on behalf of students, and to pursue innovation. He was successful in this work as demonstrated in staff retention, parent support, and student engagement. This work did not stop when Mark became the superintendent. This year, he has been able to work with all schools in the supervisory union to develop a unified EST process and has deeply engaged the leadership team in studying and implementing timely short and long-term interventions to meet the needs of all students. Mr. Spino is a highly qualified and effective leader. You are also searching for someone who is able to communicate, quote, best practices vibrantly to administrators, educators, parents, and the broader community, end quote. Mr. Spino has demonstrated an ability to effectively communicate during his tenure as superintendent. He has been transparent in his decision-making and has relied on the expertise around him when initiatives, changes, or updates need to be communicated. Mark is a highly respected member of this community. People trust him and have confidence in his decision-making. Mr. Spino is clear and concise in his communication. He offers relevant and timely information and is always prepared with a plan of action. Finally, you ask for a candidate to fill this position who, quote, will have student achievement and well-being as a central focus, end quote. Without a doubt, this is one of Mr. Spino's most obvious strengths. Every decision that he makes, every innovative idea he shares, every action that he takes is done through the lens of considering what is best for students. Mark actively engages in conversations with students and encourages students to use their voice. He gains student perspective about what is working and where changes should be made. Mr. Spino also develops systems and structures for teacher and staff perspectives to be used to improve teaching and learning. Mr. Spino meets all the criteria of an effective leader. He has been willing to work for this district and with the members of its community to ensure our students have the best school experiences they so richly deserve. You owe it to this community to provide consistency, effective leadership, and the opportunity to flourish. We cannot spend another year in turmoil and turnover.
No, we can't.
Please give us the opportunity to continue to work with Superintendent Spino. Our staff, our students, and our community deserve it. As the WSESD and SU administrative team, we have many years of experience evaluating candidates and hiring effective educators. We firmly believe that Mark Spino is well suited to this position, and we are confident in his leadership skills. We urge the SU board to offer appropriate compensation and a multi-year contract to Mark Spino. Thank you.
It's a very tough act to follow, but I am happy to follow and to share my thoughts and perspective on this situation as well. So good evening all. My name is Peggy Maxfield. I teach math here at BAMS, and I am president of the Windham Southeast Education Association with nearly 400 members. Historically, WSEA has consistently had a strong working relationship with the superintendents in this district. The working relationship was always focused on what is best for the district, for the students, for the staff, and for the community. This collaboration has allowed us to solve problems and move forward in a positive direction. Working together, we are a better district. When Mark was appointed interim superintendent this summer, he reached out and we had a conversation about the upcoming year. Mark and I agreed we would continue to have open lines of communication and work collaboratively as situations presented. With COVID still around us, situations arose quickly. Mark demonstrated his leadership skills by listening to the employees in the district, recognizing the changes in the work conditions, and working with us to address the challenges as best we could. Mark's willingness to collaborate makes him the right choice for superintendent. Mark and I were also both part of the certified staff negotiations earlier this year. During the negotiations, he demonstrated his knowledge of the contract, asked clarifying questions as needed, and helped to settle a fair deal. It is critical for a superintendent to know, understand, and respect the collective bargaining agreement. It outlines the collective rules and working conditions that the board and the staff have agreed to live by. Mark's knowledge of the contract makes him the right choice for superintendent. You've heard it already, but strong, consistent leadership is a must for this district. As the board moves forward to determine the next superintendent, I ask you to consider the following: commitment to the district, educational experience and vision, and the ability to work and problem solve with the association. These are keys for a successful district and a successful year. Through our collaborative work this year, Mark Spino has demonstrated to me that he is committed to the district, that he does have a vision for the district of doing what is right by the students and the staff, and he is willing to continue the long-standing collaborative and problem-solving centered relationship with WSEA. Based on my experiences, he is the best person to lead this district, and I urge you to give him a 3-year contract. Thank you.
Hi. Since I don't know all of you on the board, I'd like to introduce myself. I am Andy Patchouli, former principal of Brattleboro Union Junior High, BAMS, and Academy School. For the last few years, I've been the principal, mentor, and coach for the Supervisory Union. I've been a school administrator in this district since 1990, when I moved here from Massachusetts. I want to start by expressing my gratitude to the board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. And more importantly, for bringing the Supervisory Union community together. Regardless of how it happened, the process to hire the chief educational leader of the school district has brought the community together for a purpose that is important to everyone. Everybody cares about their schools, and schools do best when the community feels a sense of ownership in them. Ownership happens when people have a say in the process. Over the course of my career, I've attended more than 700 school board meetings. Some of those meetings have been with some of you in this room tonight. We spend many hours talking about how to have more community involvement. Many times we discuss how to get students involved as well. Well, tonight, so far, you've heard directly from a number of people in person, on Zoom, and by way of a petition, you've heard from several hundred others. Today, we got what we asked for, involvement. We're here. I especially want to acknowledge our students for caring about their schools. Thank you. In order for democracy to thrive, the voices of our youth must be heard and honored. I'm so proud of all of you. Your presence here tonight is important, it's inspiring, and it affirms all that's right in our schools. In my career as a school administrator, which now spans 5 decades, I have worked with a dozen superintendents, 7 of whom have been here in this district. Of those 7, 3 have been interim. Additionally, I'm sought after by other superintendents to work with them in other districts with their principals to improve their schools. I believe I know what the skills, qualities, and characteristics of a highly effective superintendent are. Mark Spino checks all of these boxes, and he's doing it under extraordinarily difficult circumstances. It doesn't get any better than that. And we won't get anyone better than Mark. Mark has taken us from chaos, confusion, and low morale to stability and sound decision-making with a laser focus on all students, families, and learning. He has earned the confidence and respect of teachers, parents, students, administrators, and the wider community. If you want to know how well he's doing, ask. Ask the kids. Ask the teachers. Ask the staff. Ask the custodians. Ask the parents. Ask the union. And please, ask the administrators. They're going to tell you that Mark Spina was the leader of the school system now, and they want him to remain. It's your responsibility to hire the superintendent of schools, and you've done your due diligence, and you did it well. You hired a consultant to orchestrate a nationwide search, the second one in 2 years. After your lengthy process, you have one standout candidate. And it just so happens, he's already proven himself in this district. I urge you to listen to your community, your constituents, and the stakeholders and do what's best for the families, children, and the community that is so solidly behind him. I am requesting that you go into executive session tonight and agree to offer Mark Spino a 3-year contract as superintendent of the schools for the WSESU.
My oldest son is a senior, and he's had his basketball banquet right now, and he would rather me be here imploring you to offer Mr. Spino a contract than me be there. I am also the VUHS Leadership Council Chair, and I'll read you part of the letter that I sent to you last week. As chair of the VUHS Leadership Council, I worked with Mark Spino last fall when VUHS was at a crisis with violence in the school, and students and parents were fearful to send or attend school. I called an emergency meeting at the request of the students on our council to have a forum for parents, students, and community members to discuss violence at VUHS. Mark Spino agreed to join us at this meeting with very little notice. We had 100 community members attend via Zoom. Mark listened to the students and parents and to their fears and provided leadership in supporting students and staff returning safely and confidently to school. In addition, he followed up after that emergency meeting to meet with the entire Leadership Council a few days later. And then a week later, he met with the Student Council of the high school. A leader that shows up and is willing to listen to students, staff, and parents before enacting changes is the type of leader this board should be proud to hire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doing a comment from Zoom.
Thank you. My name is Maureen Gallagher. I'm a parent of a 7th grade BAM student, and I'd like to read a letter that I sent to the board. Dear board members, I am writing in support of extending a permanent contract to Mark Spino for superintendent of the WSESU. I feel so fortunate that my daughter's education journey began with Mark as principal at Green Street School, and feel strongly that he is ready to lead the WSESU. We saw an amazing transformation during 7 years under Mark's leadership. GSS became an extraordinary place for students to learn and grow thanks to the supportive, positive, respectful culture created where everyone strived to do their best and be the best versions of themselves. Mark has excelled in the principal role and has been awarded for his efforts. Who better than him to coach and develop the current principals in the 10 schools throughout the WSESU? Mark's administration abilities and budget management is equally as impressive, fiscally responsible, and spent wisely. The success achieved at GSS is an example of how Mark leads. He encourages students, teachers, and parents to be open and honest. He leads by example, listens intently, and promotes personal awareness and growth to the entire community. His logical, common sense, collaborative approach to decision-making is refreshing and highly effective. Mark has a knack for hiring, coaching, developing staff, and setting people up for success at all levels while holding everyone accountable, including himself. He guides teachers to be transparent and consistent, which provides a strong foundation for both students and parents as we navigate the school years. Just as impressive as Mark's natural leadership is his ability for conflict resolution and working through issues. There is no doubt in my mind that whatever doubt or questionable answer the last WSESU hiring committee had can be worked through for the greater good of the WSESU and most importantly for our kids. Mark always has our kids' best interest at heart, first and foremost, always. Lastly, I wholeheartedly agree with the board's goal to attract a more diverse team of educators. But to attract from the outside, the WSESU needs to become a more desirable place to work. Extend a permanent and that transformation will happen naturally. Thank you.
Jesser, I'm a BAMS teacher. I have a child at Vernon, and this year I'm the vice president of the Windham Southeast Education Association, which represents almost 400 employees in our school district. I come tonight to speak on behalf of myself, but also as part of my experience in my role this year as vice president of WSEA. During that time, Mark has really tried to do what's right for us as educators. I think we can all agree that this has been two of the hardest years in public education ever, across the board, across this nation, across this state. But this district has had additional challenges because we have had unstable leadership. And I've sat in meetings with Mark and he's listened thoughtfully to our problems, he's been open to solutions, and he's really done his best to support educators. And while he understands the importance of supporting us, ultimately, Mark's final filter for making a decision is what's best for our students. That's it. That's what every single decision comes down to. And I really urge this board to also make their final filter what's best for our students. And what's best for our students is that you listen to the respected educators, students, parents, and administrators that have showed up to this meeting tonight in support of Mark Spino. Thank you.
Thank you guys for being on the school board. I know that takes an enormous amount of time. My name's Scott Davenport, and I'm a junior high teacher here. My wife's Bree Davenport. She's the music teacher at Academy. And we have two kids that are going to go to school at Academy and go through Brattleboro, and we live in Brattleboro. And we are completely invested in this community. And that's one of the things that I appreciate about Mr. Spino, is that he is completely invested in our community. And this year I was the chief union negotiator. And usually that's a very adversarial role when I talk to other people from other negotiators in other districts around the state and in other states. And that's a big competition, and you have opposite sides. And even though we disagreed about many things, it was not us against them. It was a collaboration. How do we make our school better? How do we make our district better? And he's another person that's completely invested here. And he cares so much about what happens because it impacts him. When our taxes go up, his taxes go up. If we get mad at him, we can toilet paper his house. He lives right here with us. And that's something that I really look for in someone that's a part of our community, a part of our school. And that's something that I appreciate about having him here. So I hope we can take a pair of scissors and just trim off the interim part on his name tag today. And that would be wonderful to have him be a part of our district going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening and for the opportunity to speak. I'm Julianne Egan. I'm principal of Dummerston School. I came to this district in 1999 as an English and Social Studies teacher at BUHS. I taught in this building for 9 years. I also served as curriculum and assessment coordinator. And so I'm really committed to this district. I have two sons who graduated from the WSESU system. I live in Guilford. Mark, with your permission, I would like to share the letter I wrote in support of you. So Mark asked me back in, a long time ago, November, to write a letter in support of his candidacy for the superintendent position. It was my honor to do so. I would like to share it with you. I wrote this letter, it's dated December 1st, 2021. Members of the search committee, it is my honor to recommend Mark Spino for the position of WSESU WSESD Superintendent of Schools. I have worked closely with Mark since the summer of 2017 when I became District Curriculum and Assessment Coordinator. When I transitioned to Dummerston School, Mark became my colleague as a fellow principal. Currently, I work under his supervision while he serves as interim superintendent. Mark's demonstrated excellence as an administrator is rooted in his unwavering commitment to the students and families of our district. Mark believes deeply in the promise of public education and in the capacity of highly skilled educators to promote high levels of learning for all students. As such, Mark supports an innovative culture of excellence, inspiring staff to engage in an ongoing cycle of improvement in which evidence of academic, social, and emotional learning informs practice. During my tenure as Curriculum and Assessment Coordinator, I had the opportunity to work directly with Mark, as well as Green Street School staff in varying contexts: new teacher training and support, grade level professional days, Title I family engagement meetings, benchmark data meetings, and more. In all settings, Green Street School staff demonstrated a growth mindset about their own skill set, demonstrated complete confidence in their students' capacities, exhibited deep intellectual curiosity regarding their students' development as learners, and embraced with joy the unique qualities of each student. These were the consistently observable elements of the culture Mark had cultivated at Green Street School. By empowering his staff as leaders and both building and monitoring systems to support this model, Mark set the stage for highly effective, student-centered, and responsive instruction. As a result, during Mark's tenure as principal, Green Street School was a leader in innovation, implementing a schedule and internal systems conducive to multi-tiered systems of support, developing an instructional coaching model, designing an effective and engaging after-school program, making social and emotional learning resources and services universal for all children, adopting a PBIS model, and expanding opportunities for meaningful family engagement. At the time, prior to the pandemic, I had no idea that Mark's vision and skill set would come to have such a powerful impact on my own professional life as a school administrator. For all educators, the spring of 2020 was the most professionally challenging and traumatic period of our lives. For principals, the summer was equally agonizing as we prepared to reopen our schools and simultaneously develop remote learning environments, all while grappling with the health and safety risks to our staff and students. During this period, Mark dived into problem-solving mode, seeing opportunities for schools to collaborate and share staff and working together with the administrative team to eliminate barriers to progress. Mark facilitated idea sharing among principals and action steps to carry those ideas forward. As a result, our team was prepared to open the 2020-2021 school year with both a hybrid and fully remote learning environment in place. Since then, Mark has continued to guide the leadership team through what continues to be the most challenging period of our professional careers. It is clear to me that Mark's faith in the promise of public education has not faltered. He continues to foster a culture of learning in which we can, together, improve outcomes for all students. He continues to empower staff to gain deeper levels of expertise and to innovate. He continues to place students at the center, allowing their experience to guide our practice. He continues to take great joy in the challenging work of public education. It would be both enriching professionally and simply an honor to continue working with Mark in this capacity. He has my highest recommendation.
JJ, you're up. JJ.
Hello, we're the Southeast School Board. As you know, this is getting a little crazy. 4 superintendents in the last 4 years. Where are we going to find a permanent superintendent? Can you guys hear me?
What's your issue? Hear what?
Video.
We're picking up all of the sound in your room.
Alright, apologize for that.
What are you doing? Investigation reveals something. Mr. Nobody hears you talk over, he's trying to talk.
Alright.
We'll sign you off.
Good evening, my name is Mary Ross and I'm the principal of Vernon Elementary School. I didn't plan to speak tonight. I signed on to that letter, but I feel that the needs of Vernon need to be heard as well as part of our WSESU. I want to thank Vernon parent Jessica for her words, and I agree wholeheartedly with them. As a principal of Vernon Elementary School, I urge this board to listen to the students, families, and caregivers of all of the communities of the WSESU and offer Mark Spino a long-term contract for all of the reasons that you have heard this evening. He has been a supportive leader who listens to the needs of our collective communities and has demonstrated that he can continue to support us moving forward through the opportunities and challenges that we will face in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hang on, Ruby.
You guys, somebody? Sorry.
Go ahead, Ruby.
Hi, my name is Ruby McAdoo. I'm a parent at PCS. I sent a letter to the board earlier today. I'm not going to read it, but the gist of that letter was to express my support for their decision and for their process. I want to acknowledge that it is very difficult to stand up in this room, even though I'm in the Zoom room, to an enormous amount of support for our current interim superintendent. I worked with Mark Spino. I do not have a problem with Mark Spino as a person, but I have to respect that that it was a very difficult process. And I do not think that the board made their announcement and came to where they concluded lightly. And the last thing I'd like to say is that I think that I will probably be the only person that dissents that you'll hear today. And that is unfortunate, because I don't think that I'm alone in believing that this board does not have some kind of ulterior motive. And I also would like to acknowledge that the last few days have been very harrowing for all of us. I attended by Zoom the meeting last night, and I observed all of the communications that led up to that meeting. And I do not think that Mark Spino helped in any way that process. And I believe that is a testament to an inability to lead our district in a way that is not going to be divisive. I wish I could say something else, but that's what I saw. And saying that is not easy for me, because I am in this district. And all of the people who stood up, particularly the ones from Putney, they're people I love. I respect and honor their opinion, but I cannot face this district and the amount of vitriol that came from our community. And unfortunately, I feel like I read that same bitterness and vitriol through the lines of emails and memos and public comment last night from our administrator. So I respectfully disagree with many of the statements here, and I honor the decision of this board.
No.
We're good?
Michelle, I'd like to just say a couple of things, if you don't mind. I also want to express my support and sort of echo particularly what the students have shared with us. I think so many of our administrators have said, all you got to do is ask the students. They'll tell you what the school needs. I think that's true tonight, and it generally always is true. I just wanted to speak to the board about, we've heard a lot about educational leadership, which is absolutely the most important job of the superintendent. Of course, there's the operational side of running a $60 million district and then a $30 million supervisory union. So there's a great deal of administrative integrity around, for example, implementing our 700 employment contracts that are consistent with a union agreement, as you've heard tonight, that are fair, that there's integrity in that process. There's the school bus operations. We know that that's a huge part of delivering education, getting kids to schools. There are issues that come up in operating school transportation systems, food service systems. These are very complex systems, and Mark has been exemplary in not only being an educational leader, but he has that range of skill and ability where he is very present in the budget development process, in resolving issues that inevitably come up with so many of the operational aspects of a very large organization in southern Vermont. So I just want to express my admiration and respect for Mark's ability. Like Andy Patchouli, I've worked with more than 10 superintendents in my 30-plus years, and only 2 of them have had that long-term leadership that you've heard that we all want, and a system must have to be effective over time. Mark has those similar qualities that I'm very confident that if he's the superintendent of this system, we will be back to those 15-year services that you are accustomed to in Brattleboro and in this region, from Jim Cusick and Ray McNulty and Ron Staley. Those educational leaders are admired, and Mark is in that caliber. And I'm sharing this from, as I say, being in schools at that operational aspect for over 30 years, working with educational leaders. There is no question that Mark Spino is an excellent candidate, and I recommend that you offer him a multi-year contract.
I would like to thank everybody who showed up today and to hear all of these supportive words directly to Mark, which is great. There are 2 things that I want to address, and I know we don't normally address public comment on non-agenda items, but I think that you guys would like to hear from us, so I think that I would like to speak if it's okay. I sat on the last board, and I was on the superintendent steering committee. And the 2 things that I think is really important that we immediately address is, 1, our full transparency. This board, you're correct, things were not put up on the website in a way that would have been ideal and optimal. It didn't happen. And we did our best, and I think we were trying to stay organized and on top of things and going with the system, and dealing with COVID spikes and changes, abrupt changes in strategy because of that. You all know about abrupt changes in strategy because of COVID coming and interfering. And we were literally, I think we had 15 meetings I counted, at least 48 hours, never mind the homework hours. One candidate had 90 pages of essays for us to read. So we, hours and hours were put in, and we were literally at the very last day of being a board still at the table. And so unfortunately, the accountability piece where we get to be as transparent as possible has not yet been created. It's not, and it looks like minutes and agendas, and it's not fair. Every single person deserves to understand exactly how we're sitting where we are. You deserve to know what the process is. You need to know what our candidate pool looked like. You need to know what we ran into, what bumps and obstacles we ran into, how we developed our feedback, where we got that from, and how we moved forward and ended up where we did. And I'm so eager to organize it. I get that. This is a new board. We haven't even begun to convene, but it needs to happen fast, and I agree, and it's going to happen. So the second piece that I'm hearing, first of all, I thank you, Mark. I want to say thank you because I think it says a lot when you have this many people like in our community that you've touched that want to speak up on your behalf. I know without a doubt that there is not a school board member who does not appreciate your work. I know that without a doubt. I know that you have done an excellent job, and you stepped into a place that was so trying, and you stepped right in and said, I'll try, and you did it, and we see that, and we've been grateful. This process has been complicated, and I think that I heard it over and over and over again. The other piece that I really think is important that we need to address, and I think that ironically we need to collaborate with our superintendent across the board in our other districts to be able to do, is having transparency. It would not be appropriate if the closest colleagues of people came together and told us and ordered us to hire their friend. That would be cronyism. But what we can do is make sure that we have a complete, clear, honest, transparent protocol for the entire community to see that lets us demonstrate that we have fairly assessed a candidate and that they have earned that position, not because it's our opinion, but because I think it was Andy Vitrilli who said, because we will be, he said, ask the people, parents, staff, and students. Those are the people who should be deciding. That would be the right way. I agree. We need time to develop that. We need time to develop an appropriate. I'm sorry. I can share what I can share, and you can disagree, and we can put it on an agenda so there can be a more civil conversation.
At the expense of the district.
I'm sorry?
At the expense of the district and our children.
Okay, so I'm going to be accountable to everybody, not just the people in the room who came here with an agenda. It's really that simple. I have to honor the feedback that we got and the process that we went through. So I'm not going to speak to anything more because so am I. Thank you. So am I. That's why I'm sitting here, because I care. I don't put 100 hours a month at least into this because I don't care. I care so much. And I agree.
Do the right thing.
I think that the right thing is being accountable for our actions all the time. I think it's about being transparent. I think it's about being transparent with all staff. I think it's about being able to understand. If you cannot interrupt anymore, you're going to have to leave, I'm afraid. Okay? This is a meeting. You're out of order. All right? I'm sharing what I can. I'm letting you know what we're committed to. We're committed to being transparent. We're committed to being accountable. We're committed to having the feedback. Yes, there's some really valuable feedback, and we have all of our administrators stand together. That means everything. That means so much. It also means so much that we have a collection of information and evaluation system in place that demonstrates to us a trajectory of growth that we are accountable to. We're fulfilling our responsibilities, and we're going to do our best. I can't say anything more because we haven't made any decisions. I'm just sharing what I took from all of these conversations. The two components I heard was accountability and accountability. Be accountable to the process that you did and be accountable to where we'd like you to go. And I agree with you completely, and I'm committed to it, and I'm sure my other board members are too. Okay, moving on. You want to speak? Sure.
It's obviously really helpful for a lot of people to show up and to speak, but it's not the numbers that are anywhere as impactful as what you all said. And so I hope you heard that. Say again? Oh, I'm sorry. It's nice, it's great that a lot of people show up and express their concerns and their thoughts, but the numbers really are not anywhere near as impactful as the things that were said. And you did a really terrific job of pointing out what is really important, and that's helpful to the process. So, thank you.
Thanks, David. Moving on.
What is the process?
This board has yet to, we have not even begun our business. We had public comment before we started business. This is a new board with new board members, and we don't have an existing board that has any idea what's happened, because the last board, we're still working to the final hour, and our hour hit, and we are no longer a board, and we needed to stop working.
Well, with all due respect, you know what happened.
I know what happened, I was there. Thank you. Excuse me, you're out of order. You're out of order. Okay, you're out of order. We're done with public comment and we've moved on. So approval of minutes, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of February 21st and March 1st?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Can I have a motion? We're gonna move on to warrants and payroll approvals. David, can you remind me, do I need to read each of them or just the final total?
Just the final total, I think.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the warrants and payroll approvals for March 2nd in the amount of $546,546.21, and the payrolls of February 25th, 2022, $515,076.86. I apologize for that. Kelly, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, new hires, retirements, and resignations, if we have any. No, not tonight, okay. Unfinished business. I had a question, I'm gonna turn to Carrie to ask you a question. This would be our second reading of special education. Do we need to go back in time? I know that this is pressing and it's mandatory, but with new board members, is there any consideration to that?
We do not. I checked with Pietro and we're fine.
Okay.
Plus, we've seen it.
And we did see it. I just wanted to make sure we were following books. Very good, so.
Could you just say the number again, please?
It's policy review, policy G10, special education. This is the second reading.
Thanks.
Okay. And with,
Is there anything Shelley wants us to?
oh, is there, I'm sorry, I didn't even see you over there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
There,
let's see, so is the board gonna consider, are you gonna do the second reading on policy or not?
We're not going to read it, no.
I think that the first two are to read and review independently, and the third reading is when we usually go through it more meticulously. Were you expecting something different?
That's the way we've done it pretty regularly, but two is plenty. We need to present it once and then vote on it. But
We
can
can't
do
vote
another
tonight.
meeting.
Oh, we can vote tonight.
I thought we
So
couldn't
we
vote
need three
tonight.
readings?
I thought it was first and then we have in the past at times done three, but I do believe we are fine with the first reading and then we can do passage. But what's our time deadline?
That's the
10
question.
days.
No, what's the time deadline for the state?
Yeah, so we have to submit to the AOE by April 15th that the board has adopted the policy which actually refers to the procedures and practices manual. So I'm prepared to speak to that if you like, and I have copies of the manual. I wasn't sure who to send it to electronically. I have hard copies. I can send it to you electronically after, but this is it has to do with monitoring. All districts are monitored for special education compliance, and this is sort of a, again, I don't know how much you want me to get into it now, but I'm happy to do that, or if you want to save that for the final reading, that's okay. I would just ask that the board, I'm hoping to have it signed, sealed, and delivered by April 15th, because that's our compliance deadline to the AOE.
Michelle?
Yes.
Yes.
Barb Nowakowski says it hasn't had the 10-day warning for adoption.
Very good.
Okay, then, that's our answer.
That's
Thank
easy
you,
enough.
Barb. Okay. So that one needs to be, I'll talk to Barb, make sure I understand that I have to monitor that day. So our next meeting will be or our next for sure meeting on the books, our next normal meeting is the second Wednesday, we just said would be the 13th. I'm sorry, you said what was your deadline?
The 15th, April 15th.
The 15th, so we're just cutting it close. Is that too close for you, or is that okay?
No, as long as everyone understands the purpose of the, of what we're doing,
Okay.
or what the board is adopting.
Okay. We will have that scheduled.
Yeah, Joe just made a point in my ear, just to be clear, if we don't adopt this, it's going to involve a creation of a set of policies, which also has to be submitted to the AOE by April 15th. So just, I don't know how much explaining you'd like to hear about that, but there just is a compliance aspect to it, and we might have to, I guess I would ask the board if there are questions about the legality of adopting the policy, or if you wanted more information prior to the next SU board meeting, that we communicate somehow, because if you are not adopting this policy, that will be out of compliance with the AOE. So.
Okay, I feel good knowing that at least we would be there by the deadline and possibly sooner.
Yep.
We'll look at the calendar and see what other meetings might need to be scheduled between now and then.
That would be great.
Okay, thank you, Shelley. Okay, with no new business on the table.
Can I make an announcement?
Yeah.
If that's okay. As of last October, we are again members of the Vermont School Boards Association. And as that, we are new boards have been seated as of the March election. There will be new board training on Thursday, May 5th and Thursday, May 12th from 5 to 7. I highly recommend we all sign up for it.
There was, what are the, because you should, well, let's make sure.
I will send it around to
Yeah.
everybody. I sent you all the link at one point, but I will send
Not
it
to step
again.
on Kelly's toes, but as chair of the SU board, I know that you're committed also to making sure that's on the agenda. So thank you for
I will
having those dates ready for
circulate.
us. That's great, thank you. Awesome. Okay, with no other new business. Anything else? We're all good? Okay, I move that we go into executive session for VSA 313A3, the appointment or employment of public officer or employee, provided that the public office shall make a final decision to hire or appoint a public officer or employee in an open meeting, and shall explain the reasons for its final decision during open meeting. No action is expected to be taken. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
There's a conference room that's open for us.